bless my heart. You have your mathematics charts in your homework folder, correct? Yes, no, maybe so?
No,
So
we
you
just have
still
them in
have
our
it. What?
We just have them in our notebook.
You just have them in your notebook. Okay, well, here is one, and I thought I gave you guys a pink one to put in your notebook folders. So if you don't have one, please take one, okay, and put it in your notebook folder because you're about to start needing it a lot, all right? So if you don't have one in your notebook folder, get it in there, all right? Okay, so we're still on writing equations, but now we're going to be given a point or a point and a slope. And of course, this is going to happen.
Good morning, Center Middle School, and happy Friday morning to you. That's right, it's Friday, and we're having a good day today. We're going to have a good start. We are on early release schedule today, so a reminder to teachers and staff that we will turn the bells off after announcements this morning, and we will release students by intercom today. Please don't release them until we announce on the intercom to release them. Students, you will not have rider time today. We will announce that when that time comes, but no rider time today. You will go through all your other class periods. But again, no rider time today. Some announcements before we got a happy birthday to Fernanda Amaguer from Nancy and Paloma. Happy birthday, Fernanda, from all of us at CMS and from Nancy and Paloma. Yearbooks are on sale. Early sales will end Thanksgiving break. Buy your yearbook early and you will have your picture on the cover. See Miss Andrews in room 32 to purchase one. Next week, Hey Rider Friends Homecoming Week is next week. Show your rider pride and dress up for each day. The themes are America Monday. On Monday, wear your red, white, and blue. Tuesday is Twinning Tuesday. Find a friend and dress the same. Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday. Wear mismatched clothing. Thursday, wear neon colors because we're going to light them up, riders. Friday is Flashback Friday. Dress as your favorite decade. And as always, please keep all theme outfits in dress code. Beta, there will be a mandatory parent meeting on Tuesday, October 8th at 5 p.m. in the cafeteria to discuss convention information. Attendance at this meeting is required to be eligible to attend convention. Our fall dance is back on. It is set for October the 25th from 6 to 9. Tickets are $10 pre-sale and $15 at the door. Purchase tickets from Miss Ferguson, Coach Baskin, Miss Andrews, Miss Dunn, or in the library. Costume contest, it'll be $1 entry to enter the costume contest. And then song requests are $1 each. No requests will be made at the dance. There will be door prizes as well. You can dress up. There will be costumes, but no mask to cover your face, and you must stay in school dress code. All JCC members who sold raffle tickets for Noble Children's Services need to turn in the money and tickets today. See Ms. Andrews. Also, next week is National Yearbook Week. Some lucky person buying a yearbook during our pre-sales will have their name in a drawing for a sweet prize. Reminder that yearbooks are $29. This week, our Give Me 5 word of the week is purpose. Eric Thomas says, when you find your why, you don't hit snooze no more. You find a way to make it happen. Find your why, find your purpose, and that makes every day an easier day. It makes you want to do things instead of having to do things. That's all of our announcements for today. At this time, if you will please stand for the pledge.
Of course, during the period, we have to list on time. He has one of the longest announcements.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. If you'll please remain standing for a moment of silence. Teachers, if you'll do a quick dress code check, and remind students if you see something, say something. And as always, don't forget to give me 5. Have a great day.
Okay, so with that being said, because we are on short time today, I am not going to go over questions 1, 2, and 3 because it's just writing an equation of a line from a graph. We did that yesterday. The only thing that might have not come up yesterday would be number 2, where you have your y-intercept here. And so if I have my y-intercept here and I'm going up and over, what's my slope? 3. So my slope is 3, which is going to give me a y equals 3x. Okay, you would not have 0 on the end of that because your b is 0. All right, here we go. Finding equations if you're given a slope and given a point. And we're not going to worry about the graphs. I didn't do the graphs anyways last year. Okay, so we're not going to worry about those. So it's not something I'm cutting out. It's just not something that we need to do. So given m equals -4, so I'm going to do a right here. M is equal to -1/4 and passes through the point. So my point is -4 and 2. Okay? All right, so this is the information I have, and I need to find the equation for it. So what am I missing here? The y-intercept. I can't write an equation unless I have the y-intercept. So I'm missing my b, aren't I? So slope-intercept form of an equation is y equals mx plus b, correct? So what parts do I have? I have an x, my pencil, an x and a y value, don't I? And I have an m value. So I can just very easily substitute those parts in. So I've got 2 for y is equal to -1/4 times what? -4, correct? Plus b. Now we're going to solve this equation for b. Well, I'm going to come over here and do my work. -1/4 times -4/1. And I'm going to end up with negative, and negative is going to give me a +4. And I get what? 4/4, which is what? 1, correct? So I now can have 2 is equal to 1 plus b, correct? Subtract my 1 from both sides, and I end up with b is equal to 2 minus 1 is 1. So now I know that my slope, my y-intercept is 1, so I can very easily write my equation y equals what? -1/4 x plus 1, because my 1 is positive. And that would be my equation for a line given this slope and this point. And if you wanted to check it, one of the ways you could check it was you could put this equation in and see at least if it goes through this point. Another way to check it would be to graph it, and that's why the graph is here, to make sure that that works, okay? But you could put it into your calculator, into y equals, and put 0 for y2, okay? And you could make sure that at least this point was included in that equation, and probably then you're okay, all right? But that would be a way. Or what else? Other way could you go back and check it? Think about this. Can't you plug your x value in here and your y value in here, and if they equal, you have it is correct, right? Remember we did that before? All right. That is another way. You could put in -4 for x. You could put in 2 here. And I highly suggest that you're checking your stuff off, okay? Because you don't want to make mistakes. So let's try it again. This is B. So this time we have M is equal to -3. Still haven't given us B. It passes through the point 4 and 7. So we need Y equals MX plus B. This is my x and y value, so I've got 7 is equal to -3 times 4 plus b. So now I have 7 is equal to -12 plus b, adds 12 to both sides, and I get b is equal to 19. Okay? So if b is equal to 19, my equation is y equals negative 3x plus 19. If my b value was negative, then I would have minus 19, but it is positive, so therefore I have 19. Okay? That's not too hard, right? Okay? So, and you have a little thing here. It says equations, a little cheat sheet to remind you. Given 1 point and a slope, you sub the slope and point into y equals mx plus b and solve for b. Then write the equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. All right, so that's what this little cheat sheet is for, to help you remember if you forget. You won't be able to use this on an assessment, but at least for now, as you practice, this will give you a place to refer to, other than just your notes. Okay, let's flip the page. All right, so they want you to try it. So I'm going to have you try A here. Slope is 2, and it passes through the point 4 and 6. You have an x and a y value, so we are just going to go along here and say, I'm going to have you do it, and then you can check it against mine. Everybody good? Everybody done? Okay, I'm going to skip B just because of time, okay? If you want to see B, you may write it down when we finish. I have it done here, and you may write it into your notes if you would like. For you, Mr. Brandon, it's here, so if you want to pause, you can write it down and then move on. You can also refer back to the video if you would like to get that information for B, okay? Same thing that we've just done. Pretty simple, okay? All right, next we're going to do finding an equation given 2 points, okay? So, finding an equation given 2 points. You've got the point 5 and 3 and 4 and 5, okay? All right, so we need a slope and we need a y-intercept, don't we, in order to write an equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. What tool do you have that you know that you have to find slope from 2 points?
1, 2 minus 1 over x2.
There you go. So we are going to do x1, y1, x2, y2, and we are going to first find our slope, and that means that we are going to do I'm going to write it, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And yes, that lovely formula is on your formula chart. It's just in a different place than your 8th grade chart. It's right down here where it is there, slope of a line. So we've got 5, oh, I teach my students do this, okay? 5 take away 3, and 4 take away 5. 5 take away 3 is what? 2. 4 take away 5 is what? -1. So what is your slope? -2. Okay, so I'm going to write that in for slope. Now, we know a slope and a point, don't we? Didn't we just find what our y-intercept was using a slope and a point? Oh, so what we have to do, because you will not always have a graph like there's a graph on there, because I'm sure Mr. Denby here is probably trying to plot those points and find his y-intercept that way, but you won't always have a graph, okay? So a lot of times you will not have a graph, and you need to be able to do this algebraically. So I am requiring you to do this step algebraically. Do not just do the graph and write the answer, all right? So I need to see in your work that you're doing it algebraically. Y equals mx plus b. It doesn't matter what point you use. Which one do you want to use? What? 5 and 3. Okay, so I've got 3 is equal to -2. Do you see that I always put my stuff in parentheses when I'm multiplying? Okay, it's just an easy way. I don't get confused with dots and decimals and time signs and x's. And then I've got my x1 was 5, and that would be, you cannot choose one from here and one from here. You have to choose one pair, okay? Plus b, so I end up with 3 is equal to -10 plus b. Add 10 to both sides, and I get b is equal to 13, so my b is 13. So my equation is y equals -2x plus 13, isn't it? Going too fast, or are you okay? Okay, let's do it one more time, okay? All right, B. Slope is -3 and the line passes through the point 4 and 7. So B is -3 for slope, and the point pass, what am I talking about? I'm doing the old one, never mind. I'll do it down here, so sorry. I know, I was getting confused too. I have 2 sets of notes and I didn't turn the page on the one that actually had answers. So I'm doing it without answers. So I need a slope and a y-intercept, okay? So y2 minus y1, I'd write it at the top of the page for yourself once. x1, y1, x2, y2. I've got a line, and I've got 2 subtract signs, and I've got 5 take away -4 over -3 take away 6, and that gives me 9 over -9, which is -1. Does anybody disagree with that answer? Okay, it must be right. I'm not checking it. So my slope is -1. Okay? So now I need to find my b. Y equals mx plus b. All right, somebody else, what pair? Oh, you just want to use the first one every time, huh? All right, -4 is equal to my slope is -1 times 6 plus b. You get -6 plus b is equal to -4. Add 6. You get b is equal to +2. So now my equation is y equals -x or 1x plus 2. Everybody good? Okay. A trainer for a professional football team keeps track of the amount of water players consume throughout practice. The trainer observes that the amount of water consumed is a linear function of temperature on a given day. The trainer finds that when it is 90 degrees Fahrenheit, the players consume about 220 gallons of water. And when it is 76 degrees Fahrenheit, the players consume about 178 gallons of water. Write the linear function to model the relationship between gallons of water consumed and temperature. Explain the meaning of slope in the context of the problem. Okay, so what is your independent and what is your dependent? What?
Your independent is your gallons of water.
Your independent is your temperature. Because the gallons of water varies based on what? The temperature. Okay? So we've got X, and I'm just going to make myself a little chart, and a Y. This is my temperature. This is my gallons. Okay? And I get 90 degrees temperature. I use 220 gallons. For 76 degrees temperature, I use 178 gallons. So what can I do here? M is the change in Y over the change in X, because I need to figure out my slope, because I need a slope and a y-intercept, correct, in order to figure out my equation. All right, so y2 minus y1 is 178, subtract 220 over x2 minus x1, which comes out to negative 42 over negative 14, which can be simplified to 3 over 1. Anybody disagree? What is 3 representing? Gallons. And what is 1 representing? Temperature change, right? Okay. So, we know our slope, right? It's 3. So, what tool do we have now that we have a slope and a point to figure out our y-intercept? Y equals mx plus b. Didn't our little thing say here, given a point and a slope? So we've actually done this, a slope and a point. Do this. We are doing the 2 steps here, or the 3 steps that are involved here, okay? So we can put in, let's just use 90 and 220. So 220 is equal to our slope of 3 times 90 plus b, and we find that 220 is equal to 270 plus b. Subtract 270 from both sides, and I end up with b is equal to negative 50. So, b is negative 50. So, what is my equation? 3x minus 50 is my equation. That's the first part. That would be the first answer to that. The second answer needs to be, explain the meaning of slope in the context of the problem. For every 1 degree, the temperature and is it a positive slope or a negative slope? I'm sorry, is it a positive slope or a negative slope? Positive, okay? So see, you would have to determine which this is. Is it rising or is it going down? Rises, okay? The water consumption rises by 3 gallons. Now, if it was a negative slope, remember that as your x increases, your independent increases, your dependent variable is decreasing. So if this was a -3, it would be every time the temperature goes up 1 degree, the gallon usage goes down by 3 gallons. Okay? So remember that when it is a negative slope, so let's write ourselves a note. Okay? For negative slope, X still increases. Okay? Because think about it. You're still going across that graph and X is increasing as you have that line going down. It's the best way I can say that. But your Y, or your dependent, decreases. Okay? So your independent is still increasing, but your Y is decreasing. Okay? I really want to go, and don't worry about that stuff. If it's linear, you're going to have the same Y. You're going to have the same, don't worry about that. And I'll look at your homework and see if it's on it. I don't think it is. Point slope form of an equation. Okay? This seems complicated, but it really isn't. If you look at your reference materials, point slope is right here. Y minus Y1 over is equal to M times X minus X1. Okay? So this kind of puts it in a step-by-step kind of thing that you do. This is slope-intercept form, which is Y equals MX plus B. Okay? Standard form we're not familiar with yet, but it's AX plus BY is equal to C. We're not going to worry about that until a little bit later. Point slope form. Y minus Y1 is equal to M times X minus X1. All right? So these are examples of each of these forms of the same equation. All right? When you write an equation in point slope form, all you're doing is subbing your point and your slope. So this is a complicated thing here. It's got little boxes to put things in, all right? It says write an equation of the line with slope -2 that passes through the point 3, -3. So Y minus Y1, what is your Y value here? -3. Your Y value. This is your X, this is your Y, this is your M, right? Then your M is -2, and X take away X1, which is 3. So then you substitute, okay? You substitute here because Y minus a -3 actually gets you what? +3, okay? And then you leave your -2 here, and you clean this up. If this was a negative, you would have put this as an X plus, but since it's a, I mean, if it was a -3, you would put an X plus. So the equation is Y plus 3 is equal to -2 times X minus 3. That is in point slope form, okay? So use the given information to write the equations in point slope form. So remember, your equation is on your equation sheet. Point slope form is this. Y minus Y1 is equal to M times X minus X1. So all we're going to do is substitute. All right? What I'm going to substitute is my 3, my 1, my X and my Y value, and my M value. So I have Y minus 3 is equal to -4 times X minus 1. Now, that is point slope form, okay? It tells you a lot of things. If this is a negative, that means your Y, this is a point, okay? Your point is at 1, 3. If it was a plus, you would need to know that it was at negative. You're going to have to learn to manipulate that. Otherwise, you'd have to do a lot of work to figure it out, okay? And your slope is at -4. Now, if we needed to convert this to a y equals mx plus b, let's write it over here. Y minus 3 is equal to -4 times x minus 1. Y minus 3 is equal to -4 times x is -4x. -4 times -1 is +4. Now you just clean it up. You bring this over here. Y is equal to -4x plus 7. There is the same equation in y-intercept form. So it's kind of handy to use. And looking at this, I know where a point and a slope is if it's given to me like that. Let's try this one more time. Now the line passes through 2 points. So the first thing I have to do is figure out my slope. I'm going to use a separate piece of paper for this, B. Okay? It is 6, -4, and -3, 5. What did we do to find slope when we had 2 points? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to write that as m is equal to crap.
This time we need to transition to our second period classes. Students, if you're in a double block, remember that you stay there. But
So first you'd have to find your slope, then you'd have to find your y-intercept. Okay? I'm going to put this here, and I am going to look at your homework that I'm doing now to make sure that it is possible. All of them, none of them have 2 points. They all have a slope and a point when you're doing slope-intercept. Don't worry about, now, see, I want you to see if you can do 9, 10, and 11, all right? Because they have just figuring out whether they're linear or not. And you should be able to do that from a table based on whether they have the same rate of change, correct? Correct, which rate of change is what from 8th grade? 7th grade? What is rate of change? What is rate of change? Slope. So if you could go through and figure out that those points give you the same slope, then you should be fine. And then you have to find your y-intercept, so. Lord have mercy.